Let's talk about something I think you would know something about because you're a pretty strong personality, right?
I would say that, yes.
I would say that as well.
I would agree.
I think anybody who's ever met you would say that you're a strong
Probably
personality.
so.
Yeah, okay. Recently interacted with a couple, a strong personality. She was a very strong personality, and he was more laid back. Now, that doesn't make her better than him or him worse than her. That's not that. That's not what we're talking about here. It's just very different temperaments, very different ways of approaching life. Now, what kind of difficulties do you think might exist? Just maybe an example or something. It might exist if the woman is a stronger personality and the husband is not a stronger personality. What kind of conflict or difficulty might come from that?
Well, there's a first one that I'm thinking of, which is a societal perception of what marriage should be. The husband is more domineering. He has, he's the one who's going to make decisions, be more strong-willed and strong-headed. And so automatically you've turned that on its head to where the woman is the one who's driven, more like that. And maybe the husband doesn't care as much. He's going to take a little bit of a second seat to her. And society's already going to look at that and tell them something's wrong.
Many times I have worked with couples over the years where that they were being told by other people at church or by parents or by friends saying, you need to toughen up, guy. When actually she was the stronger personality. And people would ask me, what do you think? Well, I think you need to be who you are. But as you're being who you are, understand some conflicts that can come between the two of you if that occurs.
It's absolutely true. And one of the things that could happen between that is the wife can start disrespecting and running over her husband. Now, it can happen the other way. When the husband is more strong-willed and the wife is more of that laid-back personality, that happens. But unfortunately, it's just more expected, more commonplace, even though it's not right.
So people don't necessarily raise an eyebrow.
They don't.
But if the woman's doing it, all of a sudden they're calling her names.
Names we can't say here
We won't say
without having to be censored. But it is true. And what's sad is that when each of these people, when they're working in their strengths and they learn how to work as a team in this, they can be a great team.
Right.
But if they have all of these things where if the wife is disrespecting towards her husband or she starts to say, well, why can't you be more like me? Or why don't you stand up to me more like people are telling me that you should? Then that's when their marriage can start to break down.
And that's why both of them have to be careful. She has to be careful not only not to run over him, but he has to understand that if he acts as if he's Casper Milquetoast, if he acts as if he's this mild, meek little guy that has no backbone whatsoever, she likely will lose respect for him.
Right.
And then will run over him just because of the fact that she doesn't respect him.
Right.
So let me give you two quick illustrations of this before we start taking our calls. The first was a case many years ago, a couple I interacted with, where that when he, the man, he was the milder personality of the two. When his mother had died, his wife stepped in and took over and did everything for the funeral, all those kinds of things. And then later, in front of me, was complaining that he's a wimp. And I said, he's not a wimp. He just wasn't operating at your speed. Meaning that he, his mom died, first of all.
Right.
And most of us, if a parent dies, if we have relationship with them, we tend to become a little boy or a little girl for a while. But because he wasn't acting rapidly enough, she stepped in and took over and did everything because she was a strong personality. And then she resented him that she did. But not only that, he resented her. It's like, I could have taken care of my mom. Why did you do that? The word he actually used this word, I felt emasculated. So it's got to be, give each other some patience, some time, understanding. So not only should she be careful not to run over him, but a more recent situation I ran into. The woman, the stronger personality, is now involved with another man. And because the husband is more laid back and easygoing, he's thinking, well, maybe she just needs to work through this. And rather than standing up to her, he actually bought the ticket for her to fly to meet her lover. And knows that she's going to be with him for like 3 or 4 days. Like I said, he bought the ticket. He's going to drive her to the airport. Not only that, one day he actually drove her to meet him. Now, he's thinking, I'm showing her how much I love her, how much I'm trying to understand, how compassionate I am, how much he wants to be with her. But how do you think she's reading that?
He's okay with this.
Exactly. Well, she knows he's not, but she's reading it like this. You're not fighting for me. You must not care if I wind up with this other guy.
Right.
So we're recommending in a situation like that he does stand up. Now, it may not be his nature to be confrontational, but sometimes you have to be. And to look at her and say, if you want to buy a ticket and fly to see him, I can't stop you, but I will not help you. And I'm not about to drive you to the airport. I'm not about to drive you to meet him because I love you. I'm fighting for my marriage. I'm going to be strong. And so when you were younger, you probably were given advice. when you were dating to date strong young men.
Yes, I was given that advice. And it is smart, probably, that I did. But I will say that you gave advice to my fiance before we got married and told him that he had to be strong-willed against me. Or you took this person who probably could have been so meek and mild-mannered and turned him in to someone who gives me a run for my money, which, in the grand scheme of things, is good for us.
It's what you need.
It's what I need.
You need people that can be strong enough to interact with you. And so even if you're the person who's laid back, mild-mannered, now this, we've been talking about if the guy's a more mild-mannered guy and the woman is stronger, but it's, as you already pointed out, Kimberly, it's equally applicable if the genders are reversed. Be strong enough to stand up for yourself and to stand up for your marriage, because people who are strong personalities wind up disrespecting people who appear to be weak. And just because you're laid back doesn't mean you're weak. Just because you're mild-mannered does not mean that you're weak.
Sure.
So demonstrate your strength.
But they might not like conflict. And so it can look like they're weak because they're trying to keep peace. I was doing some training at an organization in the local area a couple of months ago. I went and did a lunch and learn. And there was a couple that was in that training at this business. And at one point he spoke up and he said, but what if you just have a situation where, you know, I'm high paced, I want to make decisions, things have to get done, and she needs more time, but things have to get done. So what are we supposed to do, right? Clearly, he is the strong, dominant one, and she's the one who's trying to catch up. Right. And so I looked at him and I said, well, what if you just slowed down a little bit, got her input on things, and then brought her into the decision-making process? Because she doesn't want to fight with you.
Right.
She's not going to fight with you. So
she does want to be involved.
But she does want to be involved. To which she spoke up when I said that and said, amen, say it again. And this couple...
In other words, you fight for me.
Yeah. She said, listen to her. Literally, it was like I started doing a coaching session in front of the rest of these 35 people for this couple. And you can tell pretty quickly exactly what needed to change. He needed to slow down. He needed to take a step back, and she needed to step up a little bit, but they needed
and to be able to say that, I need you to slow down. I'm all for you being who you are, just like you're for me being who I am. But she needs to be the one to say, slow down and involve me. And that's what we're saying.
That is.
If you're the laid-back partner, male or female, be strong enough to do that.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.